Welcome to Throwback Thursday, where we bring you a homeopathy hangout episode from our archives in case you missed it first time round. Because this episode may be a couple years old by the time you hear it as a throwback, some of the special offers, links, or content may not be valid anymore, so please keep this in mind when listening. You're always welcome to reach out to us at info@eugeniekruger.com. Enjoy the episode. Today's guest is Ritu Kinra Tangri, a Melbourne-based homeopath who has just joined my team of homeopaths. So you can book a consultation with her at eugeniekruger.com and just click on bookings. So the lovely Ritu has got a wealth of knowledge in treating clients with homeopathy. She's also written a book called Materia Medica for students, which you can find on Amazon. And in this episode, she'll be speaking with us about the importance of gut health and how we can use homeopathy parallel to pharmaceutical medication. She also has some great cases that she's sharing with us, and make sure you listen right to the end where we actually just end up having a really fun, casual chat. I am so excited to have Ritu on the team, just to have this wonderful amount of knowledge added to our knowledge base. She is just such a warm, beautiful person that is so passionate about sharing homeopathy with the world, and I know you're going to love today's episode. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangouts. Today, we get to hang out with the lovely Ritu Kinra Tangri. That's a tongue twister. Welcome, Ritu.
Thank you, Eugenie. Thank you. And it's really my pleasure to be a part of your podcast because actually I'm a fan of you and I've been appreciating your podcast ever since I've been listening to them. That's my kind of dose when I go for a walk. I just put on my earplugs and that's what I'm listening to. And thank you for putting up those podcasts. I've learned so much.
You got to make me teary right at the start of the podcast. That's not fair.
Thank you.
And you're just on the other side of Australia in Melbourne, right?
Right. That's right. I'm in Melbourne. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, so Ritu, tell our listeners a little bit about how you first discovered homeopathy.
So I think I share the story with many homeopaths. It was an accidental discovery where actually a lot of Indian parents want their kids to, we are very streamlined by our parents to taking up law or medicine or engineering, or that's just spoon fed to us since we are kids. And so the idea was to do medicine, but then I think I joined homeopathy as a stopgap arrangement before I actually took up medicine. But I'll tell you a case that actually then was an eye-opener for me. Our university or college, as we called it there, was attached to a hospital where we had an OPD and an inpatient department and a labor section, and it was beautiful, a dermatology section, ENT section, eye section. It was kind of compartmentalized like that. So there was this patient who had a gangrene in his foot, a very bad gangrene. And obviously the idea with the conventional system of medicine was to amputate his foot. So before he actually went in for an amputation, he came into a homeopathic hospital as a last port of call. And I remember that the physicians there gave him lycopodium because I did inquire about it. His gangrene totally resolved. And I was quite shocked. Yes.
I would think something like gunpowder or pyrogen or something like that. They gave lycopodium.
They gave lycopodium. I don't know how they worked it out. It's obviously probably a constitutional. But as a very inquiring mind and as a very skeptical mind, I thought, that really actually did work. Because I remember stories of some of my seniors where they're actually challenging each other with giving sulfur 1M and let's try it out. And we know the effects now, how it can actually affect. So yes, that's how it all started. And that's all I developed a grip to. I said, no, I really need to know more about this. And yes, and that was my journey. So it was a 5.5-year degree course, which I did, which is called Bachelor of Homeopathic Medicine and Surgery from University of Delhi. And then I followed it up with doing a postgraduate course from British Institute of Homeopathy. So that's what my education was.
Incredible. Yeah. And you also wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about that. That was pretty shortly after you graduated, right?
Yes, pretty shortly after I graduated. And the reason, I should say, I really actually compiled a book. Because when I was actually, for each year, so we had a 4-year degree course, or 4.5 years actually, and then followed by 1 year of internship. And each year we had to study a certain set of medicines. And I had a lot of textbooks. I had Farrington, Tyler, Nash, Lilienthal, and a lot of other books, Boric. And I found it really hard to contain all the information, memorize all the information for my exams. So I started compiling notes, and I felt that every book had its own way of presenting things, especially for
Yes.
example, Lilienthal is beautiful because it actually talks about the pathology. It actually talks about how the pathology is affected by the medicine, how the physiology is affected by the medicine, because some of the books do talk about the symptoms, but they don't know how the medicine actually is working. So that to me was very interesting, but I found that, I never have had a really great memory, I must say. So then I started compiling my notes and I drew caricatures around it to memorize the information. And then I thought that when I'd finished my degree, I thought I had these lovely notes, which I thought would be useful to other students as well. So then I edited and compiled it, and it was published by B. Jane Publishers at that time. Yeah, so you'll see that each remedy, obviously, when I look back, I thought, oh, maybe I could have done this and I could have done that. But each remedy has a caricature. I'm not an artist, but I picked up those caricatures. I actually shoveled through so many newspapers and actually bought magazines and picked up the right picture for the right drug and try to, yeah. So that's what the book is about. So hopefully, yeah. And it's being used as first year, as a book for especially the first year students because it relates to their curriculum. Yeah, in India.
Wow, Ritu, that is really cool. So you actually graduated in the late 90s, right?
1998, that's right.
Wow,
1998.
amazing. Can you tell me the name of that author, the Lillian? I don't actually think I've heard of that.
Lilienthal. Yeah, I think I've got it, but it's not in a great condition.
How do you spell that?
Farrington is one of them.
I've got Farrington, but there's that Lillian one. I can't believe I haven't heard of that.
It's in my
And I'm
list.
guessing Fartek you would have as well, because I know that's a big one in India. I really like the Fartek.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's LIL. I think I've got Kent as well with me. I just double check. I'll probably put that in my notes for you, but
Yes.
LILENTHAL as far as I remember, but I stand corrected. Yes.
Okay, I cannot believe I haven't heard of that author before, but you have really piqued my interest there because I agree with you. Like, it's really nice if you can have the explanation of exactly how, on a pathological level, the remedy works.
Medicines are working. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So for that in-depth thinking, I think, and for example, now when you read about it, for example, we know arnica is a vasodilator, but once we understand the concept, we are able to apply it. Because I think it's hard to memorize information about so
Yes.
many drugs and where all it can work. And I think it's a constant learning process. So I feel that once you understand the concept of a medicine, then you're able to apply it much better. And yes, that's my feeling.
I agree because I once found out about belladonna and low potency and how it has an action, I think, on the muscles. Something like
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It acts for smooth muscles. That's right.
Yes, and that's why when you apply the atropine or the belladonna to, or how they used to in the hundreds of years ago, put the belladonna in the eyes, and that made the eyes dilate. And
Right.
that's where the word belladonna comes from, beautiful woman, because they believed that with these dilated pupils, it made them look more beautiful. And there's actually the action of the atropine kind of relaxing the muscles in the eyes that make it dilate. And so once you understand the physical action in the body, it is much easier to then understand how you would apply it in clinic.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Personally, I think, especially with people who don't have great memories, it's hard to remember all that beautiful information, although it is beautiful. But then I think when you get cases and then you work around your cases, it all comes back to you so that we start applying it that way as well. So,
Well,
yeah.
I'm actually the same, Rita. I don't have a great memory, but I also have ways of how I remember things. And I think you get more creative. Like, some people just have crystal clear memories. I used to have this flatmate. Funny enough, his name was Eugene.
Oh, really?
And he had the most incredible crystal clear picture memory. He was also a genius, I reckon. But he could tell you the finest little details of anything that happened however many years ago on this day and this time. And I'm like, my brain just does not work like that. Like, I need to have, I think, in pictures and stories and
That's right.
feelings and that sort of way. So it just makes us a little bit more creative. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a different way
That's right.
of processing information. And thank goodness that you had to rely on that, because now we can benefit from the book that you've created because of that.
I think.
So talk to us a little bit more about what sort of things these days, like what areas of homeopathy are you passionate about?
I really want, through your podcast, I want to inform people and I want to enable them and I want them to feel confident about taking homeopathic medicines. For myself, I know, and for my family, I know that the last thing I would ever go in for is conventional medicine.
Mm.
And not because it's not important. I'm not saying, because it is really important. It's important that we have it around us, important that we understand what tool to use when. I think that knowledge is really, really important. We do require antibiotics, we do require conventional medicine, but we have to enable ourselves to understand, oh, can I do without this or do I really need this?
Mm.
And yes, I know, and I can understand that as a homeopath, I want our listeners also to feel more confident about taking homeopathic medicine as a first port of call. And you would see that even though you might be taking antibiotics or you might be taking inhalers or steroids, you will see that if you start with homeopathy on a parallel line, you can slowly start tapering that off, and you will see that your episodes of recurrent infections also come down and eventually it stops. So that's the confidence I want our listeners to have. It's the best system of medicine, and it's as Eugenie did call it, and I think it was your husband who coined the term nanomedicine and stuck with it because it's
Oh, he'll be
really
so happy to hear you say
yeah,
that.
that's true. That's true. Because I think the word homeopathy can be mispronounced in a lot of different ways, so homeopathy or whatever. And I feel nanomedicine is a more effective and more technical and in the present moment term. Because it is truly a nanomedicine. And I feel that, I was just informing somebody about homeopathic medicines the other day and said, you see, when you take the plant alkaloid in its raw form, like when we go for a walk, we tell our kids not to have the berries. There might be something toxic in it. That's because it's alkaloid in its raw form. And that's why Hahnemann said that we need to potentize it so that we can negate the effects of the raw alkaloid and just have enough of the particle to activate or trigger our immune system. And that's what we want.
Mm.
And eventually, and I recently I had a client. I'll tell you about. So this client had a fracture due to an accident. So obviously we were giving him the usual fracture medicines, and he was hospitalized. He was going through his treatment, but due to whatever treatment he was undergoing, he developed a postural cough, and he had a bad cough as soon as his head touched the pillow.
Mm.
And I said, well, I think that's a clear indication for Drosera. So I said, you can have Drosera. Let's take 3 doses and see how we go. And the next day, his wife called me up. He said, he's actually quite bad. He's worse than what he was yesterday. I was quite surprised because I said, that's not that. I'm very confident that Drosera should work. But I said, okay, let's wait for another day and then we might change your medicine. The next day, she said, he's perfectly fine now. So what I'm coming to is that the immune system was triggered. It slightly sometimes flares up and then it totally stops. So we do see that effects. The patient is perfectly fine now. So that's the confidence. And I also wanted to discuss the impacts of actually taking antibiotics on our gut health. Because, for example, a case in point is the cases of tonsillitis and ear infections are so very, very common. And every time you see a doctor, you'll be prescribed a course of antibiotic and another course of antibiotic and a third one. And eventually they say, oh, we can't do anything about it. Let's go in for surgery. And I think this is common to all of us as homeopaths. We see this so often. And then the patients sometimes and many times come as a last port of call to say, okay, let's try this before they will go in for surgery. But that's also okay. But please have the confidence that you can do something about it the very first time as well. So, what is actually the antibiotics? I want to also expand on what actually the antibiotics are doing to us. So, we keep talking about gut health. What is gut health? Gut health is 43% we are 43% human cells and 57% microbiome, which is your bacteria, fungi, viruses, mostly good bacteria. What is it actually doing? It's actually a barrier, microbiological barrier that covers our body, and it's the good bacteria covering our body and not giving enough space and or enabling the pathogenic bacteria to occupy, number one. And it changes the pH to a level where the pathogenic bacteria cannot occupy our cells. That's the first thing. What it actually chemically does is it creates enzymes, it produces enzymes that break down the food, the nutrients in the food that we eat. What are those nutrients used for? For example, those nutrients are used for making our hormones in our body, by making neurotransmitters, example, serotonin. for making vitamins, which are what are the roles of the role of vitamin is a part of, it's actually a connecting block to all the metabolic reactions happening in our body. And what are the metabolic reactions doing in our body? That's why we are surviving. The reactions in the body, all the reactions in our body is what is helping us to survive. The fact that I'm talking to you, the fact that I'm blinking my eyelids, the fact that I'm moving my hand, everything requires energy. And that energy is coming from the metabolic reactions happening in our body. So eventually you can see the fact that 57% of our cells is the prokaryotes, the bacteria, is what is helping us to do every little blink or word that I'm talking to you, the movement or the smile on my face is all coming because of the symbiotic relation we have with our gut biome. So when we are taking the antibiotics, we are wrecking that, and eventually we come up with diarrhea. So we come up with, we're so fatigued, we're nauseous, and then we develop kind of a bad taste in the mouth, a bad mood, and eventually it just goes down and down and downhill. So I just want to inform our listeners that please go in for homeopathy. And even if you're taking allopathy, that's perfectly fine. Start parallelly homeopathy so that you can enable yourself to finish this off, this whole cycle and circle of things.
I'm so glad you said that, because I am also a huge advocate for caring for our microbiome. And our bodies work so perfectly when it has the opportunity to be in balance.
Yeah.
And obviously, pharmaceutical medication has its place. This time last year was just about the time when I was in hospital having my appendix out. And I'm so grateful for modern medicine. But like you said, paralleling that homeopathy, I had a drawer full of homeopathics in my hospital bed next to me.
Yeah.
Just using those homeopathics to help restore my body. And that was the first time I'd had antibiotics since I was a child. And I could not believe how it messed up my system. I am such a homeopath in that if you come for a consult with me, we will be talking about poos. You're just going to have to deal with that.
Yes, that's fine.
And
that's
so
fine.
I love talking about the gut, and it's just such a great symptom that it's giving us. I always feel like we can compensate for a lot of things, but the stuff that comes out of our body, we can't compensate for. So snot, period blood, poos, wheeze, that's just all clear, unadulterated symptoms that's coming out of our body that we can use to prescribe on.
Sure.
But if you're, for example, angry, you can suppress that and you could show a different emotion to how you really feel. But that's why I love these symptoms that get pushed out of our body. And that was the first time in my life I had ever been constipated. I have great bowels. It's one of the things that we're very proud of in our family. But I could not believe how it messed up my system after those antibiotics. And I just felt so sorry for our clients that are on round after round of antibiotics. And I felt so sad for my little gut soldiers that I've cared for all these years that just completely got thrown out of whack. But then just doing all that work to restore things afterwards as well. So I love the message that you're giving. Don't be scared using the pharmaceuticals, but use your homeopathics alongside. And as you use them, your body's going to get stronger. So your reliance on them is going to become less and less and less.
Definitely. And I'll tell you a case of my aunt who had taken quite a few courses of antibiotics for a recurrent UTI that she suffered. And each time they would increase the dosage of antibiotics. Eventually, the oral antibiotics didn't work, so she had to be hospitalized. She was given IV. And now she is suffering from chronic pancreatitis. And she is really bad. So she has to take oral enzymes to actually help digest her food. So I just felt that we sometimes don't understand that eventually when we develop a chronic issue, we should be able to make a link as to where it's all coming from. Those recurrent, obviously, food and lifestyle is really very, very important, because I think we have to remove the maintaining cause as well. And that's also very, very important. So having good food, having good lifestyle is going to take away quite a bit of the issues that we usually suffer from, as well as homeopathy is a great way to keep ourselves healthy. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about the microbiome? I love your passion for it. I could just see your whole face light up as you're talking about gut health, which is it's wonderful to see because it's just so important. And I think the more we start to understand the role of the microbiome, like one of the things that was mind blowing for me, because that statistic that you said about us actually having more microorganisms than cells in our body is fascinating.
That's right.
But that gut-brain connection, when I found out that 80% of our serotonin is produced in our gut, not in our
That's right.
brain. That
Yes.
completely smashes this whole pharmaceutical model of just, giving SRIs or just focusing on mental health. Like, you actually need to go a little bit deeper. Like, where did that start from in the first place?
That's right. Yes, yes. Yeah, that's right. Because understanding so that's where our homeopathic individualization comes, where we actually try to understand the patient as a person, every person as an individual, every person is his own, has their own circumstances, and that's where we are what we are because of whatever we carry from our whatever input we've had from our parents, from our grandparents, our situations around us, and that's the person we are today. So homeopathy looks at and then we talk about miasms, which is your acquired miasms or your inherited miasms. And then we try to clear that base as well. So we give you a constitutional medicine where we understand your general symptoms. It could be your physical and mental symptoms, as well as we see what is a miasmatic trait you're carrying. So we try to remove that root cause by giving you an intercurrent miasmatic remedy. And that kind of helps to annihilate or remove any of those traits, or at least help to overcome those traits, and then you feel you're a much better and a healthier person in the longer run. So we are not attacking it from one end, we are trying to attack it from all ends in terms of individualizing your case, in terms of miasmatic prescription, and in terms of sometimes we also now using bowel nostrils. There's so much we can do, and you've got so many tools to help our clients. Yes, that's
I know
right.
you had a case of a bowel nosode as well.
Yes,
Did
so
you want to have
I've
a chat with us
actually
about that?
Yes, I've recently had a case of, and this is really common. I've actually personally seen many cases of kids having colics, and I hope I'm pronouncing it the right way.
Yeah, colic, yeah.
So, teenage girls and boys as well, kids under the age of 10 and even over the age of early puberty, I've seen.
That's so
Uh,
interesting. I wonder
yeah,
where that comes from because it's just not an age where you would really
yes.
think of
Yes.
it.
So what I've understood is that, how as adults, when we have stress, we develop stiff necks, we develop migraines, we develop
Mm.
headaches. Kids usually present stress in form of stomach aches.
Yes.
I've seen that link with kids. And so this particular kid, I gave him Proteus because he had anger and tantrum issues as a bowel nozzle. Along with that, I gave him Colosin. Uh, Initially, same thing happened. The first 2 days, the parents said, and they sent me actually a voice recording of his update of his progress, and they said he was the same. He still had the nausea. He was sent back from school, and many times his child has been sent back from school. And eventually, he said after third and fourth day onwards, and since that day, he's never had an issue with his colic.
Oh.
Another girl, similar case, but she was around 11, 12 years, early menarche or puberty, I would say. And then similar case of having colic, being sent back from school, but she was a more shy and, introverted. And I gave her pulsatilla looking at all her symptoms.
Wow.
And she was out of it. And mom came and collected pulsatilla from me just in case. So I said, please don't give it to her without speaking to me on the phone because we don't want any overdosage as well. So we have to be careful about how many doses we are taking. So that's important. So yes, this is something I've seen. This is really common among kids. And we were talking about tonsillitis earlier. Tonsillitis, I've seen mercury compounds work really well with tonsillitis. And please feel confident if your kids are suffering from ear infections, tonsillitis, homeopathy can really, really help you. Asthma is beautifully cured with homeopathy. We are not, again, advocating that you don't take the inhalers because it's required. But at the same time, steroids, a lot of steroid prescriptions are being done, and a lot of parents give steroids. And I've seen parents by the clock, 7 o'clock, I have to give a steroid inhaler. That's fine. We have to do it. But the long term effect it causes osteoporosis. I've seen, and it's really again damaging to their skeletal health as well as their internal health. So do we really want to give it? Yes, we do need to give it because the child requires it at that time, probably. But can we get our child out of it with starting homeopathy? Yes, we definitely can help our kid out of it with starting homeopathy parallelly. And you will see you don't require that send your kid with an inhaler very soon. You'll see that, oh, he's hardly had any episodes over the last month, over the last week. Oh, he hardly has had any episodes in the last 1 month. And then you'll see it starts tapering off and beautifully your kids are healed. So we look at his history. We look at what is the miasm the child is carrying. We look at what is the general constitution the child has, and then we might sometimes need to change the prescription. So because the symptoms change. First time the parents give us a set of symptoms and then they come back to us, oh, I forgot to tell you this. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. And then we recalibrate ourselves and then re-navigate just like the Google, happens.
Redirecting route.
Redirecting. But we eventually do get to the remedy. Yeah. Sometimes that does happen as well, just to make our listeners aware. Yeah.
Definitely. And
So-
also, as we're removing layers, the symptoms change. I just did this great lecture by Colin Griffith with New Remedies for Our Time, which was put on through SWHG. And he gave this case where it was over the course of 4 years. And the remedies was changed literally about 20 times over those 4 years. And then when he found the remedy in the end, which was, I think, Aurum Sulph or something like that, then he was like, well, was this the remedy that should have been given at the start? Has it just been missed all along? And the client, and he said to the client, do you think that, have I just been giving you the wrong remedy the whole time? And she said, no, every single remedy that you've given me has helped. And sometimes it is just that process of uncovering layers, and especially if there's been lots of suppression with pharmaceutical medication, the prescription will often change regularly. In children, you may be talking more about children, which often, we get it. It's quicker to get it right because there's not as much suppression. But with some adults who've had chronic diseases for a long time, loads of medications, it can be a real journey.
Yes, that's
It's
right.
that
Medications and stressful situations around around various offices or families or whatever is going on in their lives. So
Yeah.
I actually wanted to bring up some of the beautiful keynote prescriptions that have helped as well. So besides, we don't always, I feel that sometimes these keynote prescriptions, if the patient gives us a clear symptom and we know, oh, that remedy works. And I'll tell you one of my interesting cases that I had earlier. This lady used to have regular episodes of chilblains in her toes, very itchy toes. And that's due to poor circulation as well, and especially during winters. And I gave her Agaricus. I've seen Agaricus works very well with chilblains. But then she came back to me after 2 weeks and she says, interestingly, I've had this pain in my right elbow and my left knee for a long time. It's been chronic. And that's gone. I was surprised. So how does that work? And I checked up Agaricus and it actually talks about pain in the alternate joint. So if you diagonal pain,
Oh, no
you got
way.
right elbow, you got left knee pain, and left elbow, you got right knee pain. I said, oh my God, although I might have read through it, but I could never remember it had she not come back and told me that she took Garicus and how, and I gave it to her for chilblain. So that was an interesting discovery for me, and I never forgot the use of Agaricus. I've never had a case like that ever again, but yeah, that stayed with me. That was a good.
Can I quickly tell you something really funny? So you said, and about keynote prescribing. And as you said that, I thought to myself, I have to share this funny thing about, I'm still waiting for like the most craziest keynote, still waiting for a client to come into my clinic one day and say, Eugenie, I've never told anyone this before, but every time, and I feel a bit silly saying it, but every time I open the fridge door and I see a mushroom, I feel like the mushroom is telling me to fall on a sword and kill myself. And that's the keynote for Agaricus. And so as I'm thinking this in my brain, you're telling this story about Agaricus, I'm like, this is freaky.
Freaky. A lot of stories about Agaricus. Some of the others I've found really, so Verbascum now, Verbascum I've found works really well with neuralgia, toothache, especially radiating to the ears on the left side. It has got really beautiful results with toothache radiating to the left side. And so that's one thing that I thought works really well. I've had this lady, another one this is kind of keynote and a bit of constitutional prescribing where I have, so a lot of women suffer from regular thrush. Now, I'm not again advocating that do you take the remedy, but I'm just saying what helped her. So in the longer run, and again, she took a lot of those antifungal treatments, and each time it just kept getting worse. And I know it's so hard to even function if you've got that constant burning and itching sensation. You just can't function. So for her, particularly, Soranum and Caladium did help her. A dose of Soranum, we had a miasmatic prescription and Caladium, and it cleared the case beautifully. Another interesting case was where this patient had come with, now, the fun part about it is that you would hear all of these funny feelings in a homeopathic repertoire, you'd find them, but you would never, ever, if you go to a conventional physician and you talk to them and they'll say, what are you talking about? So this lady had this feeling that something's moving on the left side of her abdomen. And she just had to constantly press it down with literally the palm of her hand to bring that feeling down, to suppress that, because She said it's not painful at all, but I just can't stand it. It's as if something's and she was definitely not pregnant, but she had this constant moving sensation as if it's pulling her from inside. So, and eventually, I think I changed a couple of remedies, and eventually, what worked was Thuja, and this is within a week. So,
Thuja.
Thuja,
It's got that
yeah.
sensation of something alive in the abdomen.
Something
Hey,
alive.
I had that once where I felt like something was moving in my abdomen and I knew I wasn't pregnant. And I took a dose of Thuja and it did help.
It did help, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I said, like, sometimes they've got this, for example, plumber met has this feeling where you're pulled in by a rope in your abdomen. Now, I think anybody else, if you were to tell those strange feelings to any other physician, so should I say, and they'll laugh at it and I would have laughed at it had I not been a physician myself. But I understand that a homeopath wants to hear all this, and we can actually treat you with the stranger the symptom that we for us. Oh wow! Can you please tell us something more so that it helps us to actually, taper down and actually hit the nail really in terms of remedies. So that's beautiful, and that's some of the. I had this another case of urticaria where this child had come, 6-year-old child, just slightly on the yeah, so she actually had urticaria, chronic urticaria. I gave her urtica urins, apis. We tried a couple of medicines. So she had temporary relief, but it came up. Then I asked the parents to get some blood tests done, which the parents did. And she, at that age, had fatty liver.
Oh, wow.
Parents said that I think she's been having a lot of those chicken nuggets on a regular basis. So every morning her breakfast was chicken nuggets. And I said they were all working, so they didn't have much time, or every evening, one of those times, really. So I did kind of chart out a little meal plan for them. And I said it's really important that we give her a lot of salads along with at least one bowl of a little bit of lettuce and cucumber and some more homemade fresh meals. So we kind of then helped tackle a fatty liver along with urticaria, and she did come out of the issue. So sometimes we might have to go deeper beyond what is causing the problem. So sometimes some keynote prescriptions don't work well till we actually get into the depths of what's actually causing the issue. So that was one of the beautiful cases that the girl was really, oh, yeah. So
Can I add something what you said about the sensations? That is why I have this podcast, because I want our listeners to understand that the weirder the stuff they tell us, the better. Because most of them come from an allopathic background where they are kind of trained from a young age as to the things that you would say to a doctor, a medical doctor, and the things that you shouldn't. So they are trained that it's not useful giving too much deep and meaningful information to a doctor because they can't really do anything with it.
Right.
So I want our listeners to retrain their thinking about the types of information that is helpful for us to know so that we can all, as practitioners, then get better results because we're kind of training our listeners on the type of stuff that we need to get to your simillimum quicker. So I'm really glad that you brought that up because that is what the show is all about.
Exactly. And that sometimes the patients feel that they think, oh, what was the other person going to think about me? Or they have this self-doubt thing, I think the person you can really open up to very well is a homeopath, because the homeopath is waiting to really hear all this from you and then prescribe you something from their magic box because they know something's going to come up that's going to heal you, definitely. So yeah, we got one of those magic pills around, that's true.
Yeah. I know you had some more cases of tonsillitis, I think. So I think we're going to talk to us a little bit more about the Mercury compounds and maybe some remedies that are in that Mercury family or how you've used them.
Yeah, basically, I've used mercury. I've seen mercury compounds are very helpful with tonsillitis. Merc cyanides, iode rubor, and Merc bin iode are two of them, which are specific for right and left-sided tonsillitis. Or I think I'm saying the other way around. And Merck salt compound, Merck cyanide, especially as I said, I've found it really useful in quinsy. And one of the important keynotes is offensiveness is a keynote of mercury compound that we've seen. So that works well. Lycopodium usually then for right to left, it moves from right to left. Lacus is from left to right, worse lying down. So those are those symptoms. So I think we've seen some great results with so I give my message here again to the parents or to the listeners is that Homeopathy can do a lot. And each time you're taking homeopathic medicines, be a bit patient. You will see that the recurrence of infection comes down anyhow. So, yeah. So that's another thing. I actually also wanted to talk about my dog and how I've helped my dog with homeopathy. Well, he's a homeopathic dog, I must say. He's always kept him on homeopathy. And he had a kennel cough once. We left him in a kennel for a month. So when he came back, he was coughing a lot. And I think personally, for me, Rumix helped him a lot. I think 3 or 4 doses of Rumix. What I do with him is I usually actually give him the pills directly from my palm or put a few drops of water and he takes that in water, which is very helpful. Another problem which my dog, I bought a Labrador, a golden Labrador. And I've seen a lot of dogs suffering from conjunctivitis, where you'd seen usually the watery eyes, and many of the dogs, and I feel, and whenever I take him out for a walk, and I see other dogs having the conjunctivitis symptoms, especially with watery eyes, and you can see all the water over their fur and the little bit of mucus, and I feel, because what helped my dog was Argentum nitricum and a dose of intercurrent dose of cipalinum, and now he's never had it ever since that time. So yeah, so I think homeopathy is I think the body functions, whether it's an animal or a dog or a plant. You've been talking a lot about agro homeopathy, and yes, my plant. One thing I can say, I'm not so much of an agro homeopath at all because I'm still trying to understand plants. But one thing I've seen with my roses, the red, the black spots that they develop has sulfur 201 dose and all those spots were gone. So that's something I learned from, I think, one of your podcasts as well. I applied it and it really did work. Yes.
That's awesome. Oh, don't even talk to me about gardens because here in Perth in January, unless you have serious shade cloth over your garden, everything's fried to crisp. So my garden is just fried. I'm not even going to try and grow anything right now. I'll wait till March.
Right. Hopefully
Yeah.
you see a green garden very soon.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
have you got any other cases or any other stories of how homeopathy can help us that you want to share?
Yes. So I've had a client who had an anaphylactic reaction to a green juice that this client took from, I think they bought from Woolworth, but whatever happened that day. And he had to be hospitalized because it was really bad. But then post his hospitalization, he had taken steroids. So we gave him the prednisolone, which is the steroid he was given. But
Impotency.
in potency, that's right. And post that, he developed a very acute pain in his right shoulder. The pain was so acute that he couldn't lie down at all. So each time he lay down on the bed, so the lying position was worse for him. Sitting up was still more tolerable, but it was pretty painful, but more tolerable. So whole night he was sleeping, actually sitting up on the bed. So then I changed a couple of medicines. I gave chelidonium. I also gave sanguinaria, which are very keynote medicines for right-sided shoulder pain, which kind of did not help. And then I finally gave him cipalinum 1M. After 1 week, that was the first night that patient had actually, the client actually slept in a lying down position. And next morning, he was fine. He was perfectly fine. So cipalinum 1 dose, this just happened very last month. So that was beautiful. The other thing that I really want to promote is taking homeopathy for sports injuries. I think we've got beautiful medicines. Again, I would say, I keep saying magic pills, but they truly are magic pills. One thing that we always keep in our kitchen is calendula ointment for any bruises, and my husband even keeps it in the bathroom because after shave, that's what he usually uses. And any kitchen knife cuts or gardening cuts or any falls, first thing we use only is calendula ointment. The other two ointments which always stay in my kitchen or I keep in my fridge usually is arnica ointment and Kintaris. So any burns, the first thing we do is just quickly put our hand in cold water, wipe it off, and put Kintaris ointment or arnica for bruises. So these are three things that normally stay with us. My brother had he was actually hit by a badminton racket accidentally he was playing doubles with his friend and he had a black eye. So what really did help him out of the situation was arnica to start with, and then we gave him some symphytum, which is very specific for blunt eye injuries. That was, lead him for any pointed instrument injuries or any insect bites. So these are, I'm not just quoting them, but what I'm trying to say is they really work wonders. We don't have to look at anything else. Staphysagra for after post-surgical injuries or knife cuts. and then Ruta for any tendons, Rustox for ligaments. They are just beautiful medicines which we can. I sometimes also I don't mind combining these medicines and giving them to patients because in an injury sometimes not one part of your muscle or ligament or tendon, all of it as a whole. So sometimes making that concoction also helps a lot on a healing patient. So yes, so eventually to end it off, our message is to our listeners that please, please have confidence in homeopathy. It is beautiful, it works wonders, and you will see you're a much healthier person, not running back to take antibiotics. It'll just develop your immunity, activate and trigger your immune system, and bring you back to health and good spirits as well.
Amazing. Now, just a little, shall we leave the little surprise right here to the end, is that Ritu is going to be joining my team of homeopaths, which is very exciting. But if people want to make a booking, do you have your own booking system as well that you want us to link in the show notes?
Yeah, so usually I've actually advertised on the natural therapy pages. That's where I'll probably forward you my link, or they can do it through your website.
Yeah, so they'll find you on eugeniekruger.com as well. And
That's
bookings
right.
under our team of homeopaths there. And you've been such a great help in our Facebook group as well. We've got a Facebook group which is just for Australian home prescribers, and Ritu's been giving some great advice in there. When you were talking about the black eyes, I don't know if you saw just this last week or so, there's been photos of several people whose children have had big eggs on their heads
That's
from
right.
injuries, and then photos of before arnica and after the arnica.
After, oh
There's
my
a
God.
few mums that have done really good like photos every half an hour or so, and you just see that massive egg go right down. But
That's so inspiring. That's so inspiring.
thank you so much also for all the help that you've given our mummies in our Facebook group. I really
Eugenie,
appreciate that as well.
thank you very much. And it really comes from my heart. Thank you for all the service you're doing to homeopathy, to our community, and to the people around us. Because we really are very passionate. As homeopaths, we're really passionate. I think every case that is better, it's all about passion. It's all about getting the message to people that they should take this, they should be confident, and they'll see how beautifully things are cured and healed, the cheer come back to your face. So thank you for all this
Aw.
service and all the good work and hard work that you're doing.
It's such a pleasure. I am so excited to have you on the team. I have the most hugest respect for, the Indian trained homeopaths, which is why I've had so many Indian homeopaths on the show as well. So I'm really grateful to have you on the team. I think 2023 is going to be a big year for homeopathy. Maybe it's just because I'm living in my little bubble of people who are interested in homeopathy, but in our podcast Facebook group, I'm seeing so many more people asking about where they can study homeopathy. I'm getting so many emails from people asking around the world, where can I get in touch with a homeopath? Where can I study homeopathy? The podcast is growing exponentially. I mean, it took us a year to get to our first 50,000 downloads. And then it took us only 4 months to get to the next 60,000 downloads. So it's growing exponentially, which is
And our
showing.
blessings are with you. Our good wishes and blessings are always with you. Everybody's blessings with you.
Oh, but what is getting me so excited, and it's just that homeopathy is growing. And
Yes.
I think COVID just gave us this incredible opportunity to show people what we have. And homeopathy has always thrived in times of pandemics throughout the last 2 centuries.
Yeah.
So now is the time. And get on board with homeopathy, try it out, get yourself a home prescriber's kit, get in touch with a homeopath so you have somebody professional to hold your hand. There's so many Facebook groups these days giving free acute advice. There's homeopathy 24/7. All the resources are out there. So yeah, this is the year for homeopathy to shine.
That's right. I wanted to add on that note that the Indian government runs a ministry especially for the holistic system of medicine. It's called Ayush. So that's Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddhi, and homeopathy. And they really enable and empower these systems of medicines to actually. So I just feel, and there is a homeopath. So India is a home of homeopathy, and you'll see a homeopath and the homeopathic pharmacy in every street, should I say so. And that's what I want us to be empowered here in Australia as well. And for all of us to understand that each system of medicine has its own really great positive points and to enable ourselves to choose the best for ourselves. Thank you, Eugenie. Thank you.
I feel sorry, Ritu. I don't want to stop. I'm having so much fun talking. But I was just thinking, we have India there as a shining beacon of light of what can be done.
That's right.
And on the flip side, we've just had all these things happen in America with the FDA trying to make homeopathy, trying to reclassify it as a new medicine.
That's
Illegally, they can't because it's actually written into their constitution. So what they're doing is against their constitution. So we have these two polar opposites. And in New Zealand, there's some things brewing at the moment, which I'm hoping to have somebody from New Zealand on the podcast soon to talk about what's happening there with some new legislation and things that they're trying to bring in there. And Australia is never safe when it comes to homeopathy,
That's right.
So we need to not for 1 second think that homeopathy is safe over here in Australia. We need to keep using it, keep demanding it, stay vigilant, and make sure that we're spreading the word. So we need to keep the Indian system of using homeopathy in our mind that we can get there, but it takes all of us to spread the word and use it and demand it and make sure that other people know about it to keep it alive.
Exactly. Yes. I totally agree with you. I think we need to demand it and we need to get the message across. That's really, really important.
Yeah.
I wish for once all the conventional doctors also tried homeopathy for some of the problems. Because I know, I've got a few friends who are doctors who actually come to me for homeopathic consultation because they understand that giving antibiotics to their kids is something they don't want to do. So they say, so I'm like, and they know, I think there's I feel, a matter of guilt there as well, because they know that it's going to it's going to wreck their system. So even people who are doctors who are practicing conventional medicine understand what it's doing to the system themselves or to their kids or to their families. But there is no other solution they have. So we are giving a solution. There is a solution. That's what we're trying to say.
I have so many nurse clients. Heaps.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got a doctor. No, I don't. I've just got loads of nurses who are clients of mine.
Right.
And I always think that this is a generalization, but I think every medical doctor and every medical nurse goes in with the deep desire to want to help people. That's why they go into that profession. And I feel like a lot of them somewhere along the way lose themselves because of that indoctrination, that kind of brainwashing, the pharma that comes in and gives them loads of training on pharmaceutical drugs. And I do feel that somewhere along the way they lose that. But I do think they've still got that glimmer of hope there somewhere that they feel that things should be better. There should be a better way. We should have more to help people than just one or two things. And if that doesn't help, we don't have any other options. I know that they have that little voice inside of them that's telling them that. And I guess my other hope for 2023 is that more medical professionals will listen to that voice and realize it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. We can have the best of both worlds.
And more importantly, I hope they try it out. Why don't they try it out and see if it really works? So let's do it practically.
Yes.
Yes, I know. You see the results. So it's all about the results in the end, isn't it? It's all about the results based. So there are results and they're beautiful results. So I hope to be able to convince, I'm saying but we as a community, I think all homeopaths are a community.
Yes.
And what we're talking about to convince, change the mindsets of those. But I think I personally feel the definition of a healer is you are a healer once you understand. You should have an open mind. A healer should have an open mind. You cannot be a healer if you've got a closed mindset. That's what scientists are about. Scientists can't come up with a hypothesis and say this is the only thing. The hypothesis is just a prediction. After that, you have to actually experiment and trial it out to actually reach the conclusion. And you cannot do that with a closed mind. You have to hypothesize things. Okay, if there is a hypothesis, why don't we then try it out and see what is the end result? So that will only come with an open mind. We have to have an open mind. And even if there's something good about Ayurveda, or any other or acupuncture or chiropractic, I have to have an open mind. I have to see how can I. So my intention as a physician, and I call myself a physician because my intention is to what is my ultimate goal or aim is to heal my patient. And however I do it, I'm long-term healing. I should not say, okay, I know this, I'm giving this medicine to my client, but these are the probable side effects. And I'm calling them side effects because that's a term coined. It's not actually a side effect, it's an effect. It's one of the effects. It's not a side effect. So this is one of the effects, but these are 10 of the other effects. Side effects is a psychological term to kind of push it back to the hindsight of our brain, which is incorrect. It's psychologically trying to train us that, this doesn't happen. For example, you've seen patients who are suffering from hypertension, I can't exactly pinpoint the medicine, but I know that it leads to one of the common side effects I've seen is on a cough, a dry cough.
Mm.
And those patients are then taking medicines for cough, whereas it is the medicine that is causing, and it actually totally disables them. I have
Yes.
many clients having hypertensive medicines, and I don't want to say the name because I can't think of the name.
No, do you know what? And I won't say any names, but it's somebody close to me is on a hypertension medication. And then recently we noticed that they're coughing all the time. And we said, why
Yes.
are you coughing the whole time? And they said, oh, it's okay. It's a side effect of the medication that I'm on. And we're like, it's not okay. It's not
Like that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we have to understand that they're not side effects, they're actually the effects, and it's actually
Yeah.
disabling you. So it's not enabling you. So we as scientists, whatever profession we are following, we have to have an open mind. And all of us have to have an open mind. So ultimately, what is the end result? The end result is I have to heal my patient. And whether I have to direct them towards homeopathy or chiropractic or even allopathy, I have to see that the end result for this client is that he's healed and he's a happier person and he's a healthier person. And please let us have an open mind. And that's the message I
Yeah.
want to give to everybody. Yes.
And actually, there's so much marketing involved in that because, just like you said, calling it a side effect just makes the patient feel like, oh, it's okay. It's just like a side effect, but it is actually an effect. I love how you made that distinction. And the other marketing term that always annoys me is the word immunization because it sounds like a good thing. It sounds like, oh, I am making my immune system stronger in some sort of mechanical way,
Yeah.
sorry, chemical way, artificial way. I'm somehow improving on something that's already perfect. But we really need to use the correct term, which is vaccination. And
That's right.
but from a marketing point of view, the pharmaceutical companies and doctors like to use the word immunization because it sounds nicer than the word
Sounds
vaccination, which is
yeah.
what it actually is. But we have to be vigilant and we have to use our critical thinking minds all the time and see where are there things around us that is just kind of nicely pre-packaged and put a little ribbon on it to make it look better than what it seems. Let's
Exactly.
call it what it is.
Let's
And
put nanomedicine then.
yeah, exactly. Let's
So,
do it.
this is true actually, because
Oh,
this is
Rita, my husband's gonna love you. He's just gonna be so happy to hear that word used.
I think I'm going to team up with him and recoin this rephrase homeopathy now. Because I want to make it more impactful, and I think it
Yeah,
all starts from the word go, you see?
it does. It does.
It does start from the word go. So yes.
Rita,
Very ridiculous. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I'm
Please.
so excited to have you on the team. This has been a
Thank you.
wonderful episode to kick off the new year with. And yeah, I'm excited about 2023. Let's bring it on.
Yeah. Same here, Eugenie. Thank you so much for having me on board. And it's totally my pleasure. And I hope that we are, as a team, are able to heal our clients, which is our only intention. And purely and only
Absolutely.
intention is to see you all coming through the other end and a happier, healthier person.
And thriving.
And thriving, most important.
I'll talk to you very soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Be blessed and be happy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Lovely speaking to you. Take care.